Hey guys, and welcome back to another round of Let's Make Hybrids. In the previous prompt, we tackled crocodiles and big cats, which was a more selfish suggestion as I figured you guys could make some really badass submissions, and my goodness, you absolutely did. But for this prompt, I went with a community suggested idea, which was a seahorse or a sea dragon, and a moth or a butterfly. And I gotta say, my god, you guys have done some like really incredible. I think this is probably gonna be my favorite prompt so far. For what was a really unusual and quite a wacky idea, you guys made so many absolutely beautiful ones, just really elegant, really stunning, and also some very descriptive ones as well. A lot of these have some stories and descriptions which are really cool to share. So let's just jump straight in. And for our very first one by Fridgemaster27, we have the Reaper Seahorse, a grim looking fellow who means no harm to those who live it alone, but those who disturb it will be victims of the scythe. This is a really cool looking one. I like the overall very gloomy kind of dark atmosphere. I like the glass wings. I gotta say the face kind of reminds me a bit of a wolf in a way, which kind of makes sense with the whole, Reaper aesthetic. And Fridgemaster has also created some variants of these, which legends say that when these creatures die, they reincarnate into a majestic dragon. With the hybrids being Torchtail, Thunderfuzz, Forest Drifter, Frost Dragon, Serpent Wing, Dust Urchin, Sky Kelpie, and an Aether Reaper. Really wonderful, and I think seeing all the different variants, all the colours, and especially like the different adornments around the head, the spikes and tails was really cool, really cute, and it's wicked to see so many different ideas diverge from this first submission. Next up we have a kaiju from Janan, the Mosujigo, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, and Janan's description was, Mosujigo, oh Mosujigo, if you were to call for help, over time, over sea, like a tidal wave, you'll come, our guardian angel. Which I'm guessing is a bit of a reference to Mothra. I never have watched the old school Godzilla versions, but I do get like a lot of Mothra vibes from this, and I think it's really cool, just a whole overall kind of deity vibe here, especially the scene at the bottom with the devoured followers. And I have to say, doing the patterns on the wings is really quite incredible. I can say from experience, butterfly wings are actually really hard to do in sport, so Janan made a really good job at attempting that. I think he did a fantastic job. Following Janan is Caprosutras93 with their Leafy Sea Dragon and Atlas Moth, which I do believe is a vanilla creation. I really like the bright colour scheme here. Got a bit of a nice coral vibe. I also really like the design of the tail, and I think the leafy parts are actually a very interesting choice, both in terms of the shape and in terms of the very bright colours. And I also think they did a very good job with the long mouth, considering how those kind of long slender mouths are very difficult to do in sport. And again, I think he did a fantastic job. And next up we have Cod Gamer with two versions of their hybrid. So the first one is a rather simplistic purple variant, and I gotta say I really like just the very large proboscis, I think it's called, the very large mouth. And Cod Gamer did go on to update their one entirely with this brand new green one, which has a much more, kind of mythical seahorsey head there, nice big mane, and I really like the choice of the tail and the stripy colour scheme. I think the textures on your second one were definitely a huge step up, so well done. And following Cod Gamer is Shrek with this really beautiful drawing. I really just love how flowy it is, especially around the tail, but also the wings. It looks very elegant, very majestic. I really like all the different multicolored markings, and I also just really like how the coloration of the body kind of traverses into these different segments, and the whole thing just looks really beautiful. Such a nice colourful idea, and I think all the wavy sections and features really fit it perfectly. And next we have Clover Sage with what seems to be a more terrestrial idea, which is really quite cool considering how moths and butterflies are of course airborne and seahorses are waterbound, so this one seems to be a much more terrestrial kind of land creature, which is really quite interesting. I really loved the design of the tail, just very nice, very simple but very large, and the patterning and striping is beautiful. I also just really love the crest, I think it is, maybe a bit of a mane, could be a crest. I love the design of that. I love how it's kind of looking at the viewer. It really makes the eyes and face stand out. And I also really like the patterning around the chest. It kind of looks like eyes in a way, and I just think that looks really cool. And next up we have one by Blue the Fairy. A nice cute little simple design. It's an interesting technique of the wings, and I do like the little black antenna. And of course a big shiny eye. Next up a submission by Dropkicked Murphy. It's got a very interesting kind of posture here. It looks like it's kind of mid-action in the process of doing a dive down while looking at the viewer, which does look very interesting. And I really like the patterning on the wings as well, particularly the orange discs with the white outline and spots. And I do also like the hints of orange around the tail and the eyes, which gives it a nice consistent overlay and avoids the orange being secluded to the wings. It's always good having that kind of colour balance in your creatures. And following Murphy, we have Skeeth with their Leafy Sea Dragon and Madagascar Moon Moth. This is really cool. The first thing that really strikes me here is the shading and colouring technique. It's got like a very blocky and sketchy kind of paint stroke, but the way it all comes together just looks really cool and gives it like a bit of a almost fluffy appearance in a way. So it's a really cool and interesting technique. I also really like the colour palette, nice and bright with a lot of dark outlines and accents. And I think it really nailed all those leafy sea dragon appendages. I think they look really fantastic. And next up we have the Rosy Coral Skipper by Coron Whiteback, which is a hybrid of a pygmy seahorse and a cosmoth. This creature's wings are actually modified fins, allowing it to glide through the water much faster than its seahorse cousins. The shading on this one is beautiful. It almost gives like a quite a legitimate 3D effect. I also just really love the subtle glow, it just brings it out so much more against a dark backdrop. The face as well is quite unique. What I really like about the face is that it's not immediately appealing, and I mean that in a good way, because it really captures, you know, the seahorse aspect of it. I feel like it's very easy falling into the trap of making you like an attractive face, and I am guilty of this as well. I always try to make my faces in my creatures, you know, just look appealing. So I think the fact that Coron's gone like with a bit more of a almost horrified kind of expression when it's really not, it's just the design of the seahorse itself, I think is really, really good, very original, and also quite honest in a way. Not to mention I just love the overall texture as well. I really like the coloration, the wing fin idea is also very creative, and I also love the way it wraps itself onto a bit of coral that also looks like, you know, the design of the creature, showing a bit of camouflage as well. Really, really beautiful, really stunning, well done. And with some more beauty, we have the Royal Sunshine Fantail by Somi. Now Somi had mentioned that this is a hybrid of something something glasswing and monarch butterfly and like 4 other species that I lost track of. To be fair, the outcome does look absolutely fantastic though. I gotta say, the whole glasswing idea, or glass fin in this case, is really beautiful. I also just love how, even though you've gone with like a very transparent outline dominant design for the fins, I really like how you still took the time to actually add in little spots as well, little spots and accents. It just brings so much more detail to the creature. I really love the design of the tail itself, just the overlapping, you know, different sides of fins and how they both kind of branch off into these sort of very long appendages. The texture on the seahorse itself is beautiful, but the coloration and shading, just how it looks very segmented and armoured. The face is beautifully sleek, and I also just really like the almost arm-like kind of appendage coming out as well. This really comes together beautifully, very clean, lots of consistent detail, and I think Somi did a beautiful job. And next up we have one by Dinosaur Awesome Dude. This one stands out being a pink design. Also a far more terrestrial looking creature as well. It almost looks like it's walking on its legs more so than a moth would, but rather, you know, actually walking like a terrestrial creature. I also like how the body is a bit more of a lighter palette, whereas the wings are a little bit more biased to the dark as well, gives like a bit of a nice contrast, and also just the way the legs are drawn. Next up we get a spore creation by the Chronicles Witch. The design of the fins, or perhaps wings, are really quite interesting. I especially really like how Kron has incorporated the butterfly wings into the design of the fins, and she kind of brought it together as this one much larger piece. I also like how it's got like an overall bit of a taller kind of design to it. The creature just feels longer, taller, and therefore a lot bigger, which kind of gives a bit more of a grandiose vibe to it. The antennae are awesome as well, and I really want to draw attention to the tail and the way the tail kind of asymmetrically curves into a coil and back towards it, which I think was very, very clever and very, very nicely done. Not to mention a very fitting environment to showcase it in as well. A very beautiful work. And following Kron, we have Untitled Goose with their monarch butterfly slash seahorse hybrid, which they've mentioned looks like a cursed silkwing from Wings of Fire. Now that I can't really relate to, but I know a lot of you guys are Wings of Fire fans, so hopefully this is something that you can appreciate. Me personally, I really like the design. I think that Goose has done a very good job of drawing the wing, and especially all the little spots in the monarch outline. The tail as well looks really nice as well. Quite an intimidating tail actually. And I also like the design of the face and the head, and also just all the scaling as well, very nicely done. And next up we have Mermaid with their Ceylon Rose Butterfly and Sea Dragon hybrids. I'm liking the darker colour pattern here, it really does make it quite striking. Also the glowing eye as well really makes it stand out. What appears to be, I think, sort of mantis pincers is also a very interesting touch, and I really like how the tail transitions into a much deeper red colour scheme. Also the glossiness of the large black wing in the background as well, I really like the gloss and shine to that, it's very nicely done. And next up we have one by Weapon-Tail, which, as they say, this is a species that stay together in groups of 30 to 40 and are very small. They mainly live on the land, but during the day they'll move into the water to sleep. I really love all the different perspectives of this one. So the middle one itself just looks really cool. I really like the more, I'd say almost kind of draconic head, which I know is probably not intended. I just really like the shape of that. I think it's a really nice clean shape. I also just really like the legs as well. How the legs kind of point off into these, you know, very thin, almost creepy looking black legs. Actually kind of gives like a bit of a majestic feel. It reminds me a lot of a reindeer. It actually reminds me a lot of Xerneas the Pokemon. Something that is really cool, and it's especially really neat to see the different variants of the, what I assume to be the younger version on the left, the cocoon on the upper right, and it grips onto a flower in the bottom right as well. It's absolutely wonderful work. It's cool seeing the different settings and postures, and I especially just really like the posture of the middle one and the way that the wings are drawn as well. The whole thing just comes together really, really nicely, and it just has such an awesome regal look. And coming up next, we have Lantern Logic with their common seahorse and monarch butterfly. I really, really like the face. The face just seems really cute. I think it might just be the very large eyes and the proportionally rather small mouth or proboscis. I'm not sure, it just looks really, really cute. I think the wings are fantastic. We've been getting a lot of monarch butterflies, which is understandable. Monarch butterflies are very, very beautiful. And I think that this is one of the much more vivid interpretations of the wings. I just think they're very, very well drawn and very beautiful. The legs, I have to say, are strikingly creepy. Compared to the very cute face and the very majestic wings, the legs are actually really creepy and it's very interesting. It's just got like a very stark contrast. Not to mention, I think that the shading on the legs is actually very well done. And next up, we've got a submission by Moshing, of which they have said it was based on Hollow Knight. Now, I haven't played Hollow Knight, so I'm really not familiar with the art style, but even I had some faint Hollow Knight vibes from this, so from that I could really only just say well done. I was able to guess the theme, or at least be reminded of it before I'd even seen that they actually said it was by Hollow Knight. So with whatever you were trying to go for here, I think that you really nailed it on that alone. The design itself is just very interesting. There's something about it which just feels very cute, but also kind of solemn in a way. It almost feels a little bit sad. I'm not sure if that's intended or not. It kind of feels like it's hiding away in its veil and it's looking down upon itself. I'm not sure if that's the intent, but what you have created here is a rather emotional creature. Something that really allows me to stop and inspect it and, kind of figure out what's going on. That said, I do just want to address the shading. I think it's really nice, very clean, and the little subtle highlights do a very good job of making it pop. And next up, by Unstable Mystery, they've made what they call little ocean fairies that came in cute pastel colours, and they would imagine would be enchanting to swim amongst. I think that is really, really quite sweet. I definitely do get like a bit of a fairy vibe from this, especially from, actually no, yeah, just all three of them. The way they'll kind of vary slightly. I think that's just really, really adorable, and it's really subtle, but I can see a bit of a zigzaggy shading in the wings. Oh, I think these are absolutely adorable, and I think the colours and the outline really complement them as well. Also the little love hearts on the tip of the wings on the pink and purple one, and just the way like all of their antennas are. The whole thing's just so sweet. This is really, really cool. And following next is Swaggy Tracks with their long snout sea moth, which is a hybrid of the long snout seahorse and the lunar moth. I love the little spiky texture on this one. That's really, really cool. I also just like the way you've drawn the spiky texture, how it's really quite subtle. You've not gone too crazy with it, or you've not, overly defined it. I think you've got like really just the right balance. The wings as well, such a strikingly different colour. The wings are absolutely, or more like her fins actually, they're absolutely beautiful. The antenna as well. Again, just very striking, very bright, and just very polished. I also just want to comment on the shading just below the eye and around the neck. The shading just has so many different hues of like purple, pink, and a little bit of orange in there. It just looks really, really rich. To be fair, the coloration in general is just very rich. I think this is really, really beautiful. It's an overall simple design, but I really do feel like it's one that just looks very visually appealing. Very well shaded, the entire thing just complements itself really well. And next up we have the Monarch Seahorse by Frostfire the Canic. I really like the nice bright purple and pink coloration here, and also the yellow spots really add a nice contrast to the coloration. The posturing as well is very interesting. You can see they've gone for like a very strict seahorse posture, especially the tail, as well as the head and neck, but still while trying to maintain my arms and legs, give it a bit of a more terrestrial appearance. And I also really like the little curly tongue coming out the proboscis. I think it's a really nice touch. And following Frostfire, we have Just Snow with their seahorse butterfly moth hybrids. I love the shading and I love the texture. Maybe this is a charcoal drawing, I'm not sure. It's like a very soft pencil drawing. I just think that the overall texture and technique is just really, really beautiful. It gives it a very soft, fluffy appearance, which is especially fitting around the neck, the chest, or maybe abdomen, and the antenna. I also just really like the little curly tongue there. And it's also got a very interesting kind of body plan. Just the overall very long seahorse-like anatomy. Seeing that anatomy in conjunction with where the various kind of moth parts have been placed, I think just fits together really nicely. And next up, we've got a pink seahorse moth hybrid by Arcanine560. I love the face. The face is just really nice and chill, very sweet. I also really like the large contrasting fin wings, how they're just a much more vibrant colour in comparison to the body. I think it offsets it really nicely. The cell shading on the underbelly as well is a really nice touch and gives it a bit of extra depth. And I also really love the texture going around the back of the head and the neck. I think it looks really beautiful. And next up we've got a rather ghostly looking one by Lunar Eclipse. Luna's normally been doing their dossier styles, but this time they wanted to try something different. And it's really quite interesting. I will just say that for a moment the sky itself is beautiful. Doing a nice starry night is actually deceptively quite difficult to make like a, like a really nice starry backdrop, and I think that Luna has done a fantastic job. As for the hybrid itself, it just looks really kind of eerie. It's very, very ghostly. It's got like a lot of kind of echoes and blurs as to where it's been. The wings are beautiful. I really do like the various colours in the wings. Also the perspective as well, it kind of feels like that the creature is flying away from you. It just looks really interesting. Following Luna is Lord Yitos with their flutter hose. I love the stripes and I really love the wings. Ooh. I was originally drawn to the stripes along the proboscis of the tail, and then as my eyes kind of came towards the body, I just saw the very, very bright, transparent wings. I think the wings are absolutely beautiful. What I really like about the wings is the fact that Lord Yitos actually gave it like gradients and colour schemes, a lot of shaded colours, while it's still being very transparent. Which is a very small detail that a lot of people probably kind of ignore or not bother to do in their own, because, you know, if it's going to be transparent, why put too much work into it? But Lord Yitos did anyway, and I think it looks really, really nice. I also just like the design on the antenna, and also the little flower patch below is also a really nice touch. Not to mention the direction of the light and just the way the creature's kind of illuminated. And next up, by Caliber Light, we have Silky the Cutie. And I do agree, this is actually really cute. I think it might be the large black eyes and just all the fur. I'm not sure, it just looks really, really fuzzy, so definitely gone with a much more moth heavy route. It does look really, really sweet. Nice big poofy arms. I really like the wings, just the general kind of texture and design. These spiky wings is a very interesting touch. And I also really like how the tail kind of transitions in texture as well. It kind of looks a little bit more scaly towards the end of it, and of course better mimicking that of the seahorse. The antennae as well are beautifully shaded in regards to your pencil technique. I think that you did a very, very good job with that as well, and the whole thing, like I said, it just looks really, really sweet. I think the name Silky the Cutie is extremely fitting. And coming up next by Little Theropod, they used a butterfly and a seahorse with some moth-like features and used Batra as inspiration. This looks badass. I love the wings. Now, little quick disclaimer, I'm not familiar with Batra. I understand who it is, but I've never really seen their designs. So I'm looking at this, you know, from a fresh perspective. I love the wings. I think the wings are really, really badass, especially the little, I kind of want to call them black holes, or little eclipses in the wings. I'm not sure like what exactly they are, or if they're meant to just be markings, I don't know, but the overall markings on the wings in general, plus all the red stripes accompanied by the yellow highlights, they just look so just striking. The eyes as well, the eyes and the face, again, very, very striking. I think just all the glows in general, and especially the water effects as well. I nearly missed the water effects. The whole thing just kind of ties together so well. All the different effects, all the visuals. Looking at the arms as well, like even more markings and how they've got like these very kind of spiky appearances. I imagine that's meant to be kind of insect legs with a very kind of heavy, maybe sort of like leafy dragon inspiration, but the leafy part's kind of in the limbs instead. I'm not really quite sure. But it's just cool, it's very, very thought-provoking, very intimidating, and just really, really badass. Well done, Theropod. And next up is a Discovery 17 with a 3D model of their fluttering sea dragon. Really liking the darker colour scheme as well, and I'm also really liking just the overall distribution of all the flippers, especially around the back, but also a little bit around the sides as well. Looking at this, I can imagine just all the flippers kind of moving in a sequence, kind of rotating one after another into like a very kind of flowy form, like wavy kind of technique. It's really hard to describe, but that's what I can imagine looking at this. I also really like the design around the eye, how it's got even more protrusions around the eyes, and how they just really stand out. And I also quite like the patterning as well on the more dominant fins on the back and on the tail. And following next is Anonyma with their fairy horse. Now for this I mentioned that I didn't really have any particular inspiration, I just kind of jammed the two subjects into a creature using mostly butterfly colours. Ah man, the colours really do sell this. Actually, so do the antenna. The antenna are beautiful, but the colours are so rich and so colourful. I really like how it is a predominantly blue creature, but it's still got like every bit of the rainbow, but a rainbow kind of accents the creature, it complements it, instead of being the main subject. I think that's a really beautiful balance. I think you've done a very fantastic job of like including different colours into these very subtle areas. Also the way it wraps around the tulip as well is just a really nice touch. The wing design, mostly referring to the pink accent, is also really beautiful. I'm a sucker for those big blue butterflies, but the wings here, just the pink accents, just really give like a bit of an extra edge to it. Very graceful, very beautiful, another fantastic piece. Next up we've got two pieces by Cherish. So first of all, we've got the digital drawing, which has an absolutely beautiful painted texture. I really like all the multicolours going along the body, and I really like what appears to be a somewhat transparent tail. It could just be a pale coloration, but seeing it against a white backdrop kind of makes it feel like it's become like a very translucent tail. I also really like how it's got these two very large sets of fins, which are, you know, quite obviously butterfly wings, but they kind of break apart into these really just cool looking fins. And I also really like the shape of the face as well, where the skull, if you will, or the eye sockets are just very large, but the snout itself is kind of very dainty and very seahorse-like, and the antenna just is beautifully nice, a bright, striking pink. And also by Cherish, we have this interactable 3D model, which again is a really nice and cool design. I really like how you've given like such large emphasis as to where the fin's going to connect into the body, kind of very vividly socketed in. It really gives a bit of a sense as to musculature. I also quite like the spiky face, very thorny and ridged. Also the coloration, the very deep blues and the way it traverses into a stripy tail. And also the red spots are a really nice touch as well. And next up by Laggy Cat Master, we have the Leafy Butter Dragon, which is based on the Leafy Sea Dragon and the Butterfly. So this one's definitely gone far more Sea Dragon heavy with more butterfly adornment, and I think it really pairs together quite nicely. I really love the, you know, literally leafy appendages, especially around the head and the tail. I think that the green colour scheme just really complements it, really makes it stand out. The wings look really epic and really grandiose. And the patterning on the body as well is just really nicely done. And I also just like seeing it in an environment where you could definitely imagine it camouflaging amongst all the reeds and leaves of the sea. And next up by Mattel's dinosaur, we've got the Butter Horse. Absolutely gorgeous wing design. I really like the contrast between the black, the white and the blue, but I especially like how you've added in all those little white spots as well, kind of really brings it out more. The seahorse itself looks lovely, and I really do like the very subtle stripes. Really gives it quite a bit of depth, especially the shading. The legs as well are actually fantastically shaded and a really good perspective as well actually. I think it really nailed just the overall kind of distance, length, bending, etc. Just the overall form of the legs just looks really about spot on, just how you'd imagine seeing it in real life. And not to mention, gotta give credit to the actual texture on the flower itself, is again very nicely done. And I also have to give credit to the actual texturing on the flower as well. All the different spots, all the different multicolored spots, and what I would imagine is pollen as well, which just makes it look very rich, and it really complements the entire piece. And coming up next by Sly, we have the Horse Moth, another more Hollow Knight kind of creature. So like I said earlier, I'm not very familiar with Hollow Knight, but I do like the overall intent of the design. I really like the cloak, the simplicity of the design, the big fluffy moth chest, and also the way it's holding a weapon is a nice addition as well. And following Sly is Savannah Dragon 0221 with some inspiration from a plume moth. I really like the overall ambient lighting here, already sets the scene for like a very nice and sunny creature. All the different waves of blue colour in the wing is really beautiful and very quite captivating. Just all the different shades, the way they all kind of flow in a different pattern or direction, and how the sun hits against it just looks really, really lovely. I also really like the design of the fins as well. They've got this really awesome stripy texture, which also does a nice job of complementing, you know, some sort of faux sense of shading. Plus the fin on the back as well, the nice transparent fin is again a very nice touch, as is the long spiky tail. And coming up next we have Sagasal with their sea moth. The cute little sea moth that feels at home in the shallows of the ocean, preferably among corals. What look like wings are modified fins that help the sea moth propel itself forward. The antennae are feelers that it uses to investigate potential food items. Its four leg-like appendages that helps the sea moth to wave around its surroundings, and it uses its prehensile tail to grab onto the stalks of seaweed or other things when it sleeps so that it doesn't drift away. That is adorable. And I really love the colours, both in the creature and the environment. They're just so wonderfully colourful. I gotta say the environment actually has got like a really awesome kind of like coral vibe. But the coloration of the creature as well, I really just love. I think the wings in particular, just how they transition from this very stripy purple and blue, all the way into this very heavily patterned cyan, with nice white and yellow and a bit of black, with a bit of a glass wing texture at the tip of the wings. I also quite like how dainty the creature looks, because in conjunction with the description of how it uses its tail to like kind of grip onto things while it's asleep, it makes sense. It looks a bit dainty, and I just think it looks adorable. I think it's really, really sweet, and all I can think about is this thing, poor little thing just drifting away in its sleep, and it's amazing. And next up we have the Petacampos by Pop Culture, their butterfly seahorse, which seems to have a fair bit of inspiration based on deer, which is really quite interesting. I definitely recommend reading the dossier in the background. I really like the more cooler colours in this one. I think the teal is a very, very nice touch. And I do also like how the teal on the tail is just a little bit darker than that on the back. It kind of makes the back of it feel more like a display, whereas the tail is clearly used for propulsion. And I also really like the spotty texture along the body as well, and the shading is really top notch, especially around the neck, the back, and around what I want to call the legs in a way, the appendages. And I also really like the large dark eyes and the little whisker things on its chin. And coming up next we have a Spore creation by Vinesh. I'm really digging the more earthy colour scheme here. Lots of browns and more natural colours. I also really like the construction of the face and how you've used the armour pads to define the more bumpy parts you typically see on a seahorse. I'm also liking the pattern of parts going all the way down the back as well, just gives like a bit of extra texture and definition. The overall positioning of the legs as well is actually very creative too. I really like the way it's kind of hunched downwards, almost feels like it's a bit more of a submissive, maybe defensive or camouflaging posture. It just looks really cool, it's a bit more original. And I also like the construction of the tail too, not to mention the pink highlights, which kind of give it like a very nice subtle accent. And next up we've got Mihal, with their really lovely fluffy design. I really love just all the fluff around the head, the neck, the arms and legs, and especially the antenna. I think it just looks really, really nice. I also like the contrasting patterns between the body, the tail, and the wings. And I also really like how the wings have these differing patterns, how the larger one has these circles and a very stripy accent along the sides, and how the smaller wing below almost looks more like a fin, and how it's got the outline of stripes instead. It's a really nice contrast between the two, and I think it gives it like a really nice bit of extra thought. And following Mihal is Viking Leo with a sea moth. Mate, I love the outline. The outline is just really, really cool. This is the kind of thing I can imagine, you know, someone doing like a big watercolour or very, you know, pencil heavy drawing on paper and then doing like a very nice kind of deep black ink outline. It really gives me that kind of vibe, and I just think it like complements the entire design really nicely. It's very strong, very appealing, but not overpowering. I love all the different shades and textures as well, just underneath the black outline, particularly around what you'd imagine is a cheek in a way, and along the big fluffy mane. Also along the arms as well, just how all the colours kind of mish and mash together, just looks really nice. And also the background. The background is absolutely beautiful. I love all the different levels, both in terms of lighting, detail, and horizon. And the whole thing just looks absolutely stunning and very eye-catching. I also just want to draw attention to the proboscis and the hairs, and all the different line art patterns and techniques, such as all the straps on the midsection, the spots on the upper part, and the almost brick-like layout on the bottom. It just looks really, really cool. And next up we have Oreloki with a Spanish moon dragon, which is a hybrid of the Spanish moon moth and the weedy sea dragon. Oh, this one is beautiful. The colours are very, very striking. The purples and yellows do a very nice job of accenting the pink and all the different shades of pink as well. I just absolutely love the way it's kind of grasped onto that little blade of grass there. And also, if you look carefully, just like the little tiny claws inside the hands and feet, if you will. It just looks really, really adorable. I love the long head and little tongue poking out. The antennae are beautiful. All the various sea dragon appendages coming off from the tail, the back, and the back of the neck. And of course the spots. The spots really just finish it, they tie it together. Not to mention the texture on the wings as well actually, but I think all those little glittering spots on the back there are just really, really beautiful. And they suit really nice with the sunset as well, even though it might be off at differing angles. It just really comes together so beautifully, and I think that this thing just has such a wonderful atmospheric feel to it. Also, subtle detail there is all the pink blossoms in the background too. As I said, really an absolutely beautiful piece. Loki, I think you've absolutely nailed this one, and once again nailing the shadowing and the lighting as you have been doing a lot of. Please do keep it up. And last but definitely not least is Somi with their Oreloranths, particularly the brilliant Oreloranth, which is a leafy sea dragon and blue emperor swallowtail, and the radiant Oreloranth is a leafy sea dragon and a monarch butterfly. That's a really hard word to say, can I just say? Both are fungivores and live on highly toxic mushrooms, rendering their flesh poisonous, which is why they have a aposematism, of flashy colours to advertise their toxicity. The brilliant Oreloranth is also bioluminescent. Both are absolutely beautiful and worth the tongue twister. They are really, really stunning designs, and I really like how they contrast. I love how the radiant one has a far more kind of like monarchy feel, whereas the brilliant one you can definitely tell is much more of a sort of nocturnal bioluminescent creature. I think it's really clever how the little spots vary on the two, how they don't look the exact same, and the spots, you know, have like a very noticeable difference, and it really kind of highlights the pair of them apart. I also just want to say that the little sleeves that they have on their arms and legs is absolutely beautiful and really adorable. I absolutely love that. It kind of feels like they're wearing dresses or like just very elegant clothing. They both just look elegant in general, very, very majestic. I think this is a really awesome and unique design, and someone's done such a fantastic job of illustrating it, as well as diverging them and making them both look incredibly unique. And that'll have to do it for there then. I'm terribly sorry if I wasn't very clear on speaking. It's been a long time since I've been able to last record, and I am a bit rusty, but it was so important I get this video out, get all the hybrids done and recorded. You guys have done just such a beautiful job this prompt. Like I said before, this has unexpectedly been my favourite prompt so far. Even though not the other ones have like much more badass creatures and I kind of prefer badass scenes, these ones have been so beautiful. And I just absolutely love them. So guys, honestly, amazing jobs. Thank you all so much, and thank you for your patience. I really do appreciate it. Quarantine has been quite difficult, especially the second quarantine here, and I really do appreciate all your patience. Thank you so, so much. As always, part 2 will be coming out very, very soon. If you want to try getting some last minute submissions, all the ways you can submit are on the screen right now. I wish you the best of luck, and as always guys, I'll see you all next time. Thank you very much, and take care. Have a wonderful day.